Welcome to another edition of Islanders Insider. I'm Stephen King, and today we come to you from the Dugan Family Soccer and Track Stadium here on the campus of Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. We're going to be talking Islanders track and field with the director of track and field, Shawn Flanagan, as well as a visit from the athletic director of Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, Scott Lazenby. We also have a special feature segment looking at Islanders strength and conditioning. Right now, let's talk some track and field with the head coach and director of track and field, Shawn Flanagan. How you doing, sir?
Hey, pleasure to be here.
First off, we got a big week coming up here on
Absolutely.
campus with the Southland Conference Track and Field Meet being hosted here in Corpus Christi, right here at the Dugan Stadium. Tell me about the task of hosting an event such as this. I mean, there's so many moving parts and everything has to come together, doesn't it?
Exactly. This is one reason why you're glad you only get this meet every 13 years. Mary Wallace is the director of the meet, and she's been doing a great job. Omar De La Rosa has been in charge of the officials. My staff has been working diligently at it. Mark Bowling's got a tremendous job to do out here, but things are on track, and not to bore you with the details, it's a huge pain in the touche, but I think we're going to pull it off.
You monitor not only every lap the athletes run, but their food, their sleep, etc. You're really keeping tabs. They're designed with one goal in mind, actually maybe even a goal date in mind. Has the timing worked out, and has the team's performances been arcing up to this upcoming weekend?
Basically, we've been looking pretty good. We had a good performance at Baylor, our last competition. Some of the distance runners had a good performance at Rice or Mount Sac the week before that. In other words, track is a little different than other sports. It really doesn't matter what you did previously. It matters what you do on this upcoming weekend. So from when we started at the end of cross country, when we started training for track on the first week of December, and for the guys who don't do cross country, started back in September. Everything has been built in for us to have a critical peak performance at this meet. Now, we've had some injuries along the line, but that happens all the time. But the kids that are healthy appear to be ready to give their best performance of the year. We cannot promise a perfect performance, but we can promise perfect effort.
Shane Hansen, a freshman.
Yes.
A freshman has been outstanding in the high jump, currently ranked near the top, first or second, as a matter of fact. I'm not sure what it states, but just in general, not necessarily looking at this year, but what is her upside for her career?
Well, in other words, she came in, jumped really well at our very first meet, and after being here all fall, Coach McBride did a good job with her getting her ready. Coach Cody Knight really works for the high jumpers. And then at the second meet at Houston, she hurt herself a bit, and it's been a struggle, but she looked really good at the Baylor meet, and we feel we've kind of turned the corner on her. So for her, she's a good student, and when she graduates from here, hopefully we will be doing good things.
Philip Barr, you mentioned Philip earlier.
Sure.
He ran a career best 5,000 meters at the Mount Sac Relays out in California a couple weeks ago. Now, he can run any distance. He'll run 1,500s, 5,000s, 10,000s, whatever you have. But the success in the steeplechase, as you mentioned, is where he appears to be most dominant. Now, how do you choose his events for this championship?
Well, we look to see where the angles are. What's the deal we're going to do with Philip is we're going to run him in a steeplechase. We're going to run him in 5,000. That way he's going to be fresh for both those events. In 2014, he won the steeplechase. He got second in the 5. It'd be great to do that well, maybe improve upon that. We'll see. Again, it's like I tell the kids, times mean nothing coming into this. You've got to do the event on the day. So yeah, we feel really good about Philip, but you take nothing for granted. And he's not going to run the 1,500. He would do well in the 1,500. He's the best 1,500 kid. But we feel like we can get the maximum point performance out of him. Plus,
this is part of the team concept here. Yes.
He's looking, right now he's sitting good for qualifying for regionals. So also we're looking at beyond the conference meet, what he can do at possibly the regionals and nationals in a steeplechase.
Another young athlete, you have a young lady by the name of Hannah McWilliams. She broke the record in the women's pole vault at the Michael Johnson Invitational, but that's a great accomplishment, and it's a new event for us. So
Sure.
it's not a conference leading height or anything. But is there a chance that we get to see one of the best in the world
Absolutely.
compete in the Southern Conference Championships?
Yeah. About Hannah, Coach, she transferred in from Texas State. Coach West has done a tremendous job of helping her get back to her level of fitness she was previously. She has a huge upside. We're really looking forward to great things from her this weekend and in the future. You know, she's really a great person to work with, and Coach West, the Povo guy, has done a tremendous job with her and the other folks we got in the vault. Now, as far as the day of the meet or the competition, yeah, Stephen F. Austin's young lady in the vault's #1 in the world or whatever. And
that's just amazing.
Yeah, and in other words, it's something that you know, it's you just relax and enjoy and see what they do. So it'll be interesting.
Coach, I really appreciate it. Good luck to you. Shawn Flanagan, Director of Track and Field for Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi. When we come back, our Krista Spahn Health Systems feature segment will focus on Islanders' strength and conditioning. Stay with us. More to come. Islanders Insider continues.
All right, everybody, if this doesn't get your toes tapping, then check your pulse.
The joy of cola, joy of bubbles, joy of fun, joy of Pepsi on your tongue, greatest taste sensation under the sun. Pepsi Cola.
My family has been growing crops here since the late 1800s.
We're Texas farmers through and through, and that's why we love HEB. They've been supporting local farms like ours for generations.
They buy more of our corn than anyone else in Texas.
Over 10 million pounds annually, and they use it to make great products like HEB corn chips.
So when you try them, you're eating a little piece of Texas.
We're the Sawed-Off family, and this is the locally grown department at HEB. No store does more than my HEB.
Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time on our Krista Spahn Health Systems feature segment, we focus on Islanders' strength and conditioning.
Here at Islanders Strength Conditioning, our emphasis is on movement proficiency, and that really covers a gambit of things, but we don't just focus on weight training, we don't just focus on bigger, stronger, faster. We're very much cognizant of longevity of an athlete and how we can get them to be competing at a high level for a long period of time. Everything is planned and programmed, and as much as we can control it, done in a long-term basis. This allows us to be very strategic with our methods and our programming, and after weeks and weeks of testing and needs analysis and determining what athletes truly need to work on in a team setting as well as an individual setting.
We don't just do weights and running and that type of stuff. Our department kind of has its hand in recovery and nutrition, and we work very closely with the athletic trainers with athletes that are coming off of injury or athletes that have just become injured, and we have to work around specific limitations. And part of that is because of the certain situations that we incur, whether it be in season or off season, with the specific athletes. Along with that thought process is the nutritional and the recovery-based elements of our department. An athlete really only spends about anywhere from 2 to 3 hours with us in an entire week. Then if you add on the amount of hours that they're outside of the weight room or outside of a conditioning session, that makes up a majority of their life. And so we have to find a way to influence them to make better choices in those areas of their lives. And a lot of times that has to do with recovery from sleep, for getting enough sleep and then getting enough recovery through nutrition elements and supplementation.
Your typical recruit or recruit parent or person who's just really a lay person and coming from a high school setting or just isn't as familiar with strength conditioning at a high level, a Division I level, may assume that everything we do is heavy weights and it's resisted and it's squatting and it's cleaning and it's bench pressing. And you kind of get this thought in your mind of a bunch of football players lifting weights and getting really loud and being really enthusiastic with how much weight that they can lift. But when you come to watch one of our tennis sessions, you know, you'll see largely a very different picture in that. It's movement based.
With baseball and softball, we're talking about a lot of rotational based movements, whether they're swinging or throwing, and a lot of lateral based movements in the infield, and then linear based movements in the outfield, trying to get to balls. So all of these elements have to be covered in the strength conditioning program. So whenever we're talking about my softball and baseball programs, you'll notice more rotary based movements, whether it's landmine movements where you're coming up and across, or med ball based movements where you're doing different throws and having to generate force through your core and generate torque through a specific movement plane. And along with that, you also take into account the shoulder and then the decelerators of the back whenever the throwing elements that come into play. Women's soccer is predominantly played from the waist down. You have to have very strong ankles, knees, and hips to be able to perform the sport in an efficient and effective manner. And so we do a lot of our training working on the lower body. So we're working on posterior chain stuff. We're working on strengthening the quadriceps around the knees, the gastrocs and the Achilles that goes into the feet and ankles. So that way that those areas that are more prone to injury are able to uphold force and be able to resist that force whenever it's applied to them. Therefore, the injury is less susceptible to occur.
What a lot of people don't understand also about Division I strength conditioning is how much priority is given to quality, especially here at Islander Strength Conditioning. Movement proficiency and quality is above all else. You know, it's okay that an athlete doesn't lift a whole bunch of weight right away, especially if they're freshmen and they're coming in and they've never even lifted weights before. We'll go through a painstaking process of almost up to a year in some cases to make sure that athletes are progressing accordingly. We take that very seriously to make sure, and we tell the parents of recruits who come in that, hey, we're going to take care of your student. We care about their health. We want to do things the right way, and we're going to learn the right way. If we don't know them, we'll be the first to admit it. And if there's a better way to progress one specific athlete versus another, not only will we strive to learn that, but we'll actually take the time to make that happen, because every athlete's on a different level. So we'll make sure that each athlete gets what they need here, and when it's all said and done, when they're moving well, then we'll have some fun, and we'll put some weight on them. We'll move quick. We'll be explosive. We'll be agile. We'll be flexible if needed, and we'll win some championships with all of that performance we're getting.
In our time here at the Island, we've been very blessed to have some crazy strong athletes and crazy explosive athletes. One of those athletes you're very familiar with if you're part of the Corpus community, which was John Jordan. He had a 57-inch box jump, which is just crazy. He just won the NBA D-League dunk contest. Brittany Gilpin, who touched 10-1 on an approach jump. If you think about that, that's an inch higher than the net. Ben Clark, one of our throwers on the track team, he squats over 600 plus, right around 650 or so. And the thing to remember, all these numbers may not be that impressive when you think about it from a number standpoint. These kids still play a sport. So they're not just lifting and trying to perform a max effort lift and go to a competition. They're playing a sport, and that's how they got that strong.
Lung cancer is the leading cancer killer in both men and women. Because most cases are diagnosed in the most advanced stage, early detection is the key to survival. Are you between the age of 55 and 74? Have a smoking history of at least 30 pack years? Radiology and Imaging of South Texas and Christus Spohn Cancer Center have joined together to offer affordable lung cancer screenings. Call 1-855-557-7646 to schedule, because what you can't see can kill you.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time, we're joined by the athletic director for Texas A&M University Corpus Christi Islanders Athletics, Scott Lazenby. Scott, good to see you again.
Thanks, Stephen. Good to see you too.
As we talked with Coach Flanagan a little while ago, and we talked about this big event coming up this weekend, the Southland Conference Track and Field Championships. This is something you were very much involved with when it came time to the conference making the decisions to get it here in Corpus Christi. Tell us about that process and getting this big event here in Corpus Christi.
We have certain sports that is a bid process. Your volleyball, your soccer, those are ones that each school bids on to try to get to host it. And then you have your conference ones that they run, baseball, basketball, golf. But for track, it's a rotation between all the 13 schools. So you really only get to do it every 12 to 13 years. So this was our year, and we're very excited to do it. It's a huge undertaking. You know, we're talking 100 to 150 volunteers easy out here for this because it's 3 days all day long. It's probably easily for the conference the one that takes the most manpower to do. It's obviously not the longest. The basketball tournament's the longest, but this is quite a bit of work. We're excited to do it here. At the same time, it's a little nice that you only have to do it once every 10 years. But this weekend is going to be extremely busy for all of us, but looking forward to it.
You know, it is quite the undertaking. How involved? I mean, this is pretty much an all-hands-on-deck situation. Doesn't matter where you are in this athletic department, you're working that weekend.
That's right. Every staff member, every coach that's available will be out here. You know, we also have baseball going on, so some of the staff will be over there running that. So it makes it for, you know, we need outside volunteers to help, and we have quite a few people on campus that aren't with the athletic department that come out to help, some people in the community that are coming out to help. The Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Corpus Christi is helping, so it's nice to see all these different people come in and help and you know, put on a good show for the Southland Conference. It helps make our university look great, but also the city of Corpus Christi.
And the CVB in particular, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, you know, they've been kind of involved in this as well. They've had a little bit of a partnership when it came to bringing this event here to Corpus Christi, and truthfully, they'll be a partner in other events we bring here as well.
That's true. They've gotten on board with helping with a little bit of the expenses for hosting these things because they know the amount of people that it's bringing in from out of town. You know, this weekend, there'll be 12 universities bringing in their men's and women's track teams. You know, 750 to 1,000 athletes alone. That's a lot of hotel rooms. That's a lot of restaurants. That's a lot of food being bought and a lot of money spent in the city. And that doesn't include parents, friends, relatives, other officials coming in from out of town to watch, to be here and be a part of it. It's a huge boost to the economy here.
Like I said, it's not a one-day event. It's a 3-day event. And so this has got some legs underneath it, is the way that works out. And as you keep talking about that, the benefits to our community, you know, whether it's just the revenue that's generated, but also just whether it's short-term benefit or a long-term benefit. This may be the first exposure of Corpus Christi to some of these people.
Right, you get a lot of people that come here for the first time. They've never seen our university, and I talk to so many of them that they're surprised at how beautiful it is. It's on an island, the palm trees, and they drive around the city and they can't believe it. And they end up coming back on vacation with their families, or the next time, if their team is playing down here, they come down here for the sole purpose to have a few days of vacation. So it helps a lot for the city when we're able to host these.
Well, let's get into some of the other things going on with Islanders Athletics. It has been a special year so far, and one team in particular that's having a fantastic run and currently in the middle of their run is Islander women's tennis, getting ready for the NCAA championships, winning the Southland Conference regular season and tournament, and unbelievably going undefeated in the process. 24-0, that just doesn't happen.
No, it's amazing. Steve Moore, our director of tennis, does a fabulous job. We're extremely lucky to have him. He runs both programs. The women's team, 24-0, it's unheard of. You know, not just here at our institution, not just in our conference, but in the NCAA at any level. To do that in a regular season is just amazing. Excited for them, the NCAA championship next week. They went 2 years ago. They're excited to go back again. You know, the men's team had another great year, the first time they didn't win the conference championship in 9 years, but I don't think that's going to last. I think next year they'll be right back in it. There's no doubt. But no, the women's team, I'm just so excited for those young ladies. Just a great group that he's got out there. Phenomenal
core of athletes, there's no doubt. While women's tennis is still in the middle of their season and trying to do something even more spectacular as they go towards the NCAA championships, another women's team had a phenomenal year, and that's, of course, volleyball. Indoor volleyball was outstanding, winning the regular season, the conference tournament, and making their first appearance in the NCAA.
Yeah, they went undefeated in the conference for the first time, swept through the conference pretty handily, then went into the tournament, did the same thing. Ran into a little bit of buzzsaw with A&M up in College Station, but you know, just a tremendous program that Tony Greystone built up for the last 6 years. You know, unfortunately he left us and went on to Texas Tech. Extremely happy for him, but in January when we hired Stephen Green, I don't feel our program is going to take any type of a step back at all. If anything, it's going to move forward. You know, the team he's inherited, he's very happy with and very excited about because they are good.
And of course, while we're recapping and talking a lot of the successes of the year, men's basketball as well had another fantastic year. A season high wins season high win total of 25 wins, the most for Willis Wilson in his tenure here at A&M Corpus Christi. Continue to go up and up and up, and we look for them to continue that. But I tell you, the success of this program, how key is their success to the overall growth of our athletic program?
Well, you know, men's basketball is probably the one sport that easily gets us the most recognition, not just on campus, in the city, but throughout the state, nationwide, because men's basketball at the collegiate level is such a big deal. If you've got a successful program, every sport benefits from it because of the amount of exposure they get on TV. So if your team can win and get to that NCAA tournament, which we were one game away from doing that, you know, just a few points, you know, it's a major boost to our athletic programs, but at the same time, it's a major boost to the university and the city. You can't measure that exposure that you get. So it's very important for us to have them be successful. And next year, I don't think we're going to see any type of a dive or level. I think next year we're going to be even better. So excited for next year to already get started, even though we're 5-6 months away.
Yeah, it seems like it's so far away, but before you know it, it's going to be right on top of us.
That's right.
There's no doubt. What do you see as your priority short-term goal for the athletic department?
You know, we're ending up at the end of our academic year. It also is getting close to the end of our budget year. So right now, we just finished a month-long in April campaign for season tickets for basketball next year, trying to capitalize on our successful season, and it worked. We doubled the amount of new season ticket buyers from last year for this same time. Our renewal rate was also double. So there's some people in town that have noticed, and so we can already see that paying off. So right now in the short term, you know, there's some things we've got to do fundraising-wise to still capitalize on this. We've got some short-term projects we need to get done. So that's really what my focus is on the next couple of months is fundraising, which is a vital part of any NCAA athletic program.
I could ask you the same question, but I'm going to change the parameters. What is your priority long-term goal? Facilities.
We've got some facility needs. Our basketball practice facility needs renovated, so we're looking at renovating the current field house, possibly even building a new one over on the Momentum campus. And we'll know that within the next month or two which way we're going to go and kind of a time frame of when we think we can do that. At the same time, we need new baseball, softball stadiums. We've got the drawings and renderings, and so the long-term focus for me is, you know, fundraising and getting, you know, gathering funds so we can build those facilities, because that is a recruiting tool. At the same time, it's something that gets our fans here on campus. So that's what I'm going after in the long term. It keeps me busy.
The common denominator of both is fundraising.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
What it is. There's also another term that a lot of us use in the business is fundraising.
That's true.
You're not only trying to raise money, fundraising, you're also trying to raise friends and people that are going to come out and watch. Because if they're buying tickets to come to your games, it's kind of the same thing.
Well, I just know one thing for a fact. We've had a tremendous year for the program so far. A huge weekend with the Southern Conference Track and Field Championships here in Corpus Christi. And again, on that horizon, another phenomenal year coming up our way. So great job, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Steve.
Scott Lazenby joining us once again, Athletic Director for Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. When we come back to Islanders Insider, we'll bring you up to speed on what's next for Islanders Athletics. Stay with us. More to come. Islanders Insider continues. Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time, let's show you what's next for Islanders Athletics. Islanders Track and Field will be at the Dugan Family Track and Soccer Stadium on Friday the 6th, 7th, and 8th for the Southland Conference Track and Field Championships hosted by Islanders Athletics. On Friday the 6th, Islander Baseball will start a 3-game series against Sam Houston State. On Friday, the games will start at 6 p.m., on Saturday also at 6 p.m., and on Sunday the 8th, a 1 p.m. start time. Islanders softball will be heading on the road to San Antonio, Texas to take on the University of the Incarnate Word Cardinals. The Friday softball contest will start at 6 o'clock with a doubleheader on Saturday at 12 and 3. And finally, on the weekend of the 13th, Islander women's tennis will compete in the opening rounds of the NCAA Championship. Once again, we want to thank Shawn Flanagan, Director of Track and Field here at Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, as well as the Athletic Director, Scott Lazenby, for joining us here today. Most importantly, I want to thank you for tuning in. For everyone here at Islander Athletics and the Islander broadcast crew, you've been watching Islanders Insider. Thank you.